Right, all praise to Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai, and double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, man. I'm just gonna do a video on this article, man, quick. It says, it's from the Express.co.uk, and the title is EU Army on the way. EU cannot rely on NATO and needs new defence policy, says Brussels chief. The European Union cannot rely on NATO to protect its member states from external threats and must develop a policy of collective defence that allows it to act autonomously if and when necessary. Um, Says, according to a new foreign policy document from the Brussels-based institution to be handed to EU leaders next week, a credible European defence is also essential to preserve good relations with the US. So more or less what these guys are planning at is these guys want that EU army, man. Like more or less just like NATO's got their own army. They want an EU based army, man. And that's pretty much just leading that's just globalism, the one world order, new world order agenda, man, being pushed forward. Because more or less what it's gonna like when the way they want it to be is just like everything in one central hub controlled by the elites, man. And then if the EU get that what do you call it? If the EU gets their one world army, it's more or less then they'll just link up with NATO, and then they'll be fighting against Russia, man, Russia and China. That's the plan anyway, and more or less it's gonna head that way one way or another, man. Once the Third World War kicks off anyway, Europe's hands are gonna be tied because they're gonna have to stand with America, and then China and Russia, they're gonna have to do their own thing as well. It's been prophesied. It must needs come to pass. Um, Says EU Foreign Policy Chief Federica Mogherini's global strategy document states that as Europeans, we must take great responsibility for our security. And the thing is, and this is why you've had enough attacks like in multiple places, like in Brussels, in France, all in Turkey recently. Like I think it was like yesterday. There was the attack in Turkey as well at the airport. But enough man got linged up, like 200 and something injured and like 38 or something dead, or 41 I think it might be the new number. But enough man getting linged up. So all these little terror attacks, they're more or less so they can pass things like this with more ease, man. Because you'll have like, especially with the problem with the borders as well, they might be like, okay, we're gonna have like soldiers set up, and then they're gonna handle the border. But that's martial law, more or less. That's what it's just leading to, man. It says the white paper adds, while NATO exists to defend its members, most of which are European, from external attack, Europeans must be better equipped, trained and organised to contribute decisively to such collective efforts, as well as to act autonomously if and when necessary. So to act autonomously, basically, then they can do. Ultimately, they'll do whatever the fuck they want to do, and that's the thing is, like she chucked it in there like sly, but then that's essentially what it'll come down to. If they have the right to act however they want, then they'll just be put. It's for the agenda of the elites, man. Says a more credible European defense is essential also for the sake of a healthy transatlantic partnership with the United States. While it stresses that NATO remains the primary framework for most member states, it goes on to urge EU members to channel a sufficient level of expenditure to defence. So one dosh. Says the documents continue. We live in a time of existential crisis within and beyond the European Union. Our union is under threat. Our European project, which has brought unprecedented peace, prosperity, and democracy, is being questioned. So that's ultimately what it comes down to, man. Like we live in a time of existential crisis, within and beyond the European Union. So it's like problem, reaction, solution, man. So the so-called white man created a problem by setting up these so-called terrorists and setting up these false flag attacks. And now that EU army, that's going to be part of the response, man. And then certain powers will be given to them, and they'll say, okay, you know what, we're gonna have to let them. We're gonna have to lock down certain. Like they're saying, they're sorting out borders as well. There was another article saying, I might as well go on it. It's on the Express as well. the EU's 1 trillion plans kept secret until after the referendum. It says uh, yeah, it says they will also present a raft of measures that cover everything from their plans to introduce EU border checks and the accession to the European Convention of Human Rights. So that EU border checks is also part of it, man. So more or less, they could bring in the army and then say, okay, you know what, we're gonna have the borders under control of the EU army. Then when they want to lock it down, then it's not each individual country locking down. It's just the EU army lock down every country, man, and get shit unlocked, man. This is all for the progress of the elite's plans, man. Let me see if there's a little more in there. Well, yeah, okay. It says, to the east, the European security order has been violated while terrorism and violence plague North Africa and the Middle East as well as Europe itself. A fragile world calls for more confident and responsible European Union. It calls for an outward and forward-looking European foreign and security policy. So that's that EU army, man. It's the globalist agenda, man. The agenda of the elites. So these Rothschilds, it's more or less these guys. They're just trying to set up they're just leading up to the Third World War, man. Because more or less that's all this army's gonna be used for, man. The Third World War, and the martial law in the different countries, man. But, yeah, I'll leave it there. I'll say all praise to Yahweh Hashem Yahshai, double and the Apostle, great millstone, man. Shalom.